This Thursday is Yom HaShoah. It's Holocaust Remembrance Day. And a program right here in Northeast Ohio is working to make sure the stories of the millions of people who died are not forgotten.
Vigala, vigala, vile, wie ist die Welt so stille.
Touching music.
Her head was shaved, and she was painfully given a tattoo.
And haunting memories.
We knew that we had to be strong and work hard, or else we would be gassed.
This next generation is working to ensure the horrors of the Holocaust are never forgotten.
I am sharing the story of how 12 million people were murdered, and I'm doing something good. And for my great-grandmother, I survived.
Students like 16-year-old Maya Greller and 18-year-old Abigail Botnick are sharing their family stories and the stories of others through Testimony Theater, a program that partners teens and Holocaust survivors and their families. The teens interview survivors, then turn their stories into vignettes to perform.
The whole experience itself is an awakening.
For director Sheri Gross, Holocaust education is personal.
When I was growing up, the Holocaust had happened just like 30 years before. So it was our recent Jewish history, our recent world history. So exposure to survivors was normal. Now, parents think differently about the kind of exposure they want their children to have to painful situations. Whether that's right or wrong, it's just the way things are now.
Is that at all a fear of yours, that the discussion has changed in a way that maybe it's not so direct in confronting what happened?
Always. That's always a fear.
Gross hopes Testimony Theater can expose teens to what happened in an impactful way and allow them to educate others. It's the same hope shared by Amnon Ophir, director at Akiva, which offers programs like Testimony Theater for Jewish teens here in Cleveland.
Holocaust education today for a lot of the teens is one day a year during Yom HaShoah. And I think that they need to experience more. We brought it from Israel, the concept from Israel, and then together with Sheri, we develop it as it today.
Growing up in Israel, Botnick says the reality of the Holocaust was always around her. Now, on a gap year in America, she's working to make sure her grandfather's story is told.
By acting it up, you can actually show emotions and not just the story on the paper. And this is how people can actually understand the story also better, so they can go and share it later. Like if someone would share my grandfather's story as a story about Holocaust survivor that he knows, I did like what I needed to do.
This year, all the stories shared at Testimony Theater have connections to students participating, keeping history alive for the generations still to come.
Survivors, they're reaching the end of their rope. In the next 10 to 15 years, you know, who knows how many will still be here. But as long as we keep telling their story, they will never truly die.
So those performances you saw in the video are from 2019. With the past 2 years, things, have been virtual or just a bit different with the pandemic, but they're looking forward to get back to performances in May. And I was just so impressed by the composure and the poise of those two students, 18 and 16, right. And to be able to so beautifully, grapple with these really difficult topics, to share those stories so sensitively too, and such context there for others to understand. I mean, I was really blown away by the work that they're doing here.
Right, and I think I am too as a viewer of this. It's interesting. History, if it's not taught, can be forgotten.
Right.
And it's interesting how they chose to teach this period of time, which is so important, right? In that way, and I think that's great. That connects with not just the older folks, but the younger folks as well, especially acting it out. I mean, you heard her say the emotional part is attached to that. That's a great choice, and it seems like they're going to continue that story through future generations.
Yeah, and they are hoping too that if you're interested, you can reach out to Akiva if you want to bring it to your school, if you want to have another group of students participate in this. They really are looking for the whole community to be involved in this Holocaust education.
Right, good stuff. Thanks for bringing us that story.
Yeah, thank you.